music no one can ever refuse it. Pulsating, vibrating, reggae, reggae, reggae. Very sky, rock, steady, mental, a quadrillion, a cool.
Okay, morning to the listeners and viewers of the Real Stuff podcast. Today is Tuesday and we have Indigenous Outlook. And today we have with us a very special guest, Akilah from the Merikin of Trinidad. And she'll be talking to us about the International Decade for the People of African Descent, and also about the indigenous people of Trinidad. So, morning again, Akilah. And the floor is yours.
Ashe, Omi tutu, Una tutu, Ile tutu, Tutu lareye, Tutu ariku babawa, as I call on the ancestors, for cool head, cool house, cool path, cool earth. I give thanks this day for all the blessings that have been granted upon us to make sure that we can fulfill the duties assigned to us. So I give thanks this day. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Yes, so.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Could you just reintroduce yourself? Just a quick 2 seconds thing.
Thank you. Yes, again, to all the listeners, I am Akilah Jaramogi, Ifa, from Trinidad. Some call me Iya, which is mother, and I am an Orisha practitioner. I am a Merikin descendant, 6th generation Merikin descendant, and Merikins are Africans who came from Africa and settled on plantations in the US. A lot of them Virginia, Georgia, North and South Carolina, Florida, and ran away from plantations, hid in the forests, hid on the shorelines of the Americas. And in 1812, when Britain and America went to war, the British army was really weak and they called on people to join the army. Our ancestors used that opportunity to come out of hiding. Some of them walk away from plantations and put on the red coat, fought on the side of the British, and in exchange for their freedom out of America. It was a short war. It ended in 1814. And following that, the British, they kept their promise, in spite of the fact that they kept on asking our ancestors to continue fighting. And we said, no, our ancestors were not interested in fighting. They were interested in being free. So after leaving the US, they settled them in the Bahamas, in Bermuda, on garrison duties in Bermuda. And following that, they went over to Canada while the British tried to decide where to put us in one of their British territories. After settling us in Canada, then they moved us to Trinidad, South Trinidad. So we settled in South Trinidad during 1815, late 15 and 1816. During that time, slavery was still running, plantations were still operating, so they put us in a rural community far away from some plantations, that is South Trinidad, Southeast Trinidad. And we, from then to now, our relatives still lived there. Each soldier got 16 acres of land that were not to be sold, but passed on from generation to generation. I am 6th generation Americans. My mom is still there in 6th Company in South Trinidad. You'll hear about New Grant and Hard Bargain and 1st Company and 2nd Company, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 6th, and 6th Company. So this is who I am, American descendant from the South. I am now in the North and I run a reforestation project called the Fonsaman Community Reforestation Project that acts as a headquarters for my Merikin peoples who are in the South but want information in the North. You can get it here at my resource center in St. Anne's, Port of Spain. And also I am the chair and co-founder of the United Maroon Indigenous Peoples. You can also get information at our resource center in Fonsaman about the United Maroon Indigenous Peoples, and we'll talk more about that. So while I played the role as a forester in Trinidad, I am also deeply involved in my ancestral roots and doing the work wearing multiple hats as I am assigned to do this. This is bigger than me. I am just here, humble me, doing the work. And I say, Modupe, thank you.
Wonderful. So if you could just move on to your today's topic.
Thank you. Yes, I choose the topic looking at the decade for people of African descent. And this decade started in 2015. It was declared under the UN to celebrate the people of African descent. So from 2015, it really started, and this year, they claim to be the end of the decade. I was hoping that it would have been 2025, so we have some more time, but it declared 2024 as the end of the decade for people of African descent. And I know they are lobbying for another 10 years because we have requested another 10 years. Because when I look around the Caribbean and the Americas, I ask myself, how much have we as a people achieved over those years? When they declared the decade for people of African descent, that meant something to me. And not just me alone, but my Maroon community and my people who are conscious about who they are and from whence they came and want to do better, want to reclaim some of what was taken away from us as we talk restorative justice, we talk environmental justice, we talk reparation financing, and the list goes on. But when you measure from 2014 to now, how much have we really achieved? How much reparation financing have reached our people? How much have been restored in communities? We still have so much to do, and I have so much questions that need to be answered. I know in each country in the Caribbean, there were reparation committees, and I think there was even a regional committee that is dealing with, reparation and justice for people. But a lot of these committees existed, and getting the input from the general public, the general, community of African people, like public consultations and outreach and buy-in from those in rural and urban communities, both rural and urban, but also the indigenous ones who may have been just marginalized, out of reach. How much have we been able to get real data from them to know what our real needs are? And how can we accomplish, moving forward, transforming, this condition that we are in to what we hope to achieve. So here I am, with this big question as to where the reparation committees, what plans do you have? What have we benefited? What about our children and education? We talk about decolonizing the education system. We talk about getting the narrative of our people, our history in the schools. Talk about language retention. And so far I can measure, and I haven't seen much. That's why I have lobbied and continue to lobby through the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights, through the newly formed UN Permanent Forum for People of African Descent. We have lobbied there asking, for the extension, so we can measure what we have, what our needs are, and put it before somebody to get resources coming to us to implement some of these actions. So this is one of my big questions, and if anyone in the audience or even my host or whoever can help continue this conversation before the next meeting in Geneva, which will be held in April, it will be really good. So whoever attending these meetings can go a little more prepared, can go with questions or proposals that will bring resources to our Caribbean people or peoples of African descent, where, we need to address a lot of issues.
Let me ask you a question. Last year when you was in Jamaica, when you had a visit of the UN rapporteur, what came of that?
Okay, so the special rapporteur came because we attended 2 meetings for the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. So he was invited through the University of the West Indies to visit Jamaica and to meet the Africans who are indigenous. So we were there, and he came and he met people from Belize, he met the Merikins, he met the Maroons of Jamaica, he met some of the Tainos, and his role was to go back to the UN with a report from his observations. So that we are still waiting to get the feedback on, to say exactly what was the outcome. So maybe next meeting we can have someone from the University of the West Indies, because it was an invite by the West Indies, University of the West Indies, to the Special Rapporteur Office. It was not from the NGO civil society group, and it was not from the government.
Okay.
It was, so through the University of the West Indies, we are still waiting to hear whether they did get a report from Special Rapporteur, or whether Special Rapporteur took that report directly back to the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. I happened to meet the Special Rapporteur last year in Dubai at the COP conference, and he was just congratulating us for being keepers of the tradition, and staying grounded to our beliefs and our life ways, our traditional life ways, our indigenous life ways. Because when asked, when we were in the UN, at the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, he asked me, how do you see yourself, Ms. Jaramogi? And I said, I see myself as an indigenous African Maroon woman. And he said, yes, that is what we want to hear. It is how you define yourself. So you as an African person, if you stand up and say, I am not indigenous, I am just a Jamaican, or I'm not no African, I am just a Trinidad, you know how some of us talk.
Oh yes.
Right? If you define yourself as a dog, they will see you as a dog. If you define yourself as a royal African king or queen from Africa, where our indigeneity lies within our roots and in our DNA, and we live it every day, not just to dress and put on a show, but the way you live, the way you eat, the way you breathe, the way you feed yourselves. This defines you. And therefore, this is how he saw us when he came. Landscapes of the culture that prove that we are true indigenous peoples because we live the life as indigenous, as our ancestors taught us. Yeah.
Yeah, a quick question, bro. Yeah, do you think that this is being treated like some kind of intellectual pursuit or something? Because I don't think it has been promoted enough among the grassroots or the mass of the people, and not even in Jamaica, because I don't think a whole lot of people have heard of this declaration or about this decade of for people of African descent. So what do you think can be done to promote it?
I think it is undervalued, underpromoted by leaders and even through the Caribbean. Because if it was any other culture celebrating 10 years, a decade of a people, you'd have seen it throughout social media and the news and the papers and the radio. You'd have seen a lot more being invested into this. For us, we have been doing our part as United Maroon Indigenous Peoples and Maroons of the Diaspora, starting as early as 2014 when Gamma Mama G and one of my colleagues visited Suriname, where Mama G was assigned as the only female Gaman of the Caribbean. And following that, we had a lot of meetings throughout. We visited Suriname, that's Merikins from Trinidad and our relatives from Jamaica. We went to Suriname sharing this information. Then we came back to Jamaica in 2017 at one of the Charlestown gathering, meeting the colonels and the Maroon community. I don't know how much the media did pick it up and share it, but this is what we have been doing. And that was in 2017. Then 2019, we went back to the UN, to the first meeting at the UN, the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. Then in 2021, we went back to the UN again, sharing this information. Then we met in Dominica, getting Maroons to come together. Some of them, a lot of them in Dominica, didn't even know themselves as Maroon, didn't even follow the history of Jacko and Kwashi and Mabia and Marie and all those freedom fighters, those Maroons who lived in the hills in Dominica. A lot of people in Dominica did not even know about their own history, but it's how much this information is sustained, how much we keep it in the landscapes, in the, within the circles, how much we get it in the schools. This is the big question, but we have been doing our part. We have attended the first and second permanent forum for people of African descent. The first one was held in Geneva. The second one was held in New York, and there myself, Gamma Mama G, we had Merikins from Trinidad. We had other other Maroon relatives joined us from different parts. We had the Billies community join us. So at a small level, but to me with big impact, we have been doing our part. Yeah. And now you can even see a lot of conversation is coming out of research around Maroons at the university level. Even the Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights, you would hear side meetings talking about Maroons. Before, it wasn't really before, beside the Saramaka issue in Suriname, you were not hearing a lot about Maroons of the diaspora. And this is what we have been able to do. But we don't want to just talk about Maroons. We want to talk about our African community. Because a lot of our people did not run away from plantation. In fact, after they abolished slavery, some of them were even crying. They want to, they want to stay on the plantation because they were afraid to go out there to fend for themselves. So yeah, so we have been doing our part, and it's now left for others to join forces, especially the media, and help us along the way.
But there's something that's quite noticeable in the community. I noticed that it's mostly women who is, pushing this movement forward.
Yes, yes.
Well, this is the role and this is the time, and I'm asking brothers, I know we are still traumatized, we are still healing, we are still afraid of a system, that is there structured where you see internal racism and all the stuff there to put pressure on us. However, you always find a woman being fearless. If you go into our Yoruba tradition and teachings, you look at Oshun, the role of Oshun, and the role of Oya, and the role of Imanja and Imoja, but mainly Oshun, who was a fearless queen, and she would do things that even Shango and Ogun and all those powerful Orishas were afraid to do. And you're seeing it now happening that women have to take the lead. The mothers are the ones, the wives, the sisters. And we beg you, brothers, to come on board with us. Yeah, come on board with us, because this is the lived reality of what we want it to be. We need the family. We need men, women, and children to come on board. We need African men to wise up and, take a little moment away from the rum shop, away from the barber shop, and get in the sacred spaces and understand what is happening to your family, what is happening to the children, right? Help us to reclaim what was taken away. And this is what I plead to all my brothers and sisters. We cannot do it alone. The sisters cannot do it alone. We need our brothers at our sides. We need our men. We need our husbands. We need our fathers. We need to get strong boys and men in the society. That's why through the Maroon Women Chambers of Cooperation and the United Maroon Indigenous Peoples, we focus on the family. Yeah? And this is the pathway we are taking.
Well, I mean, it is shown now that you are doing a wonderful job. It's just that you have, you are bearing the brunt of everything going forward. But
I think in this,
go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, in this life, you can't give up. You cannot give up. It may sound sometimes we are overwhelmed, and it's not just about the money. It is not just about the money. It's about your commitment and your loyalty. Us, right? To be the change that we want to see. You want to see change, you got to change. You got to find yourself. You got to ground yourself, and then others will follow. So this is what we have been doing. And I say thanks to even Gamma Mama G, thanks to the sisters and brothers in Charlestown, in Trelawny Town, in Accompong. Look at the change you are seeing now in terms of understanding who you are, in terms of bringing royalties from Africa so you can see the type of life that we live, right? So when they want to put you down as poor and worthless and the worst and treat you anyhow, just take a photo, just reflect on how our ancestors used to live, and then you will wise up. You will stand firm and understand that, hey, we have the power to change and we can make it happen. So this is the reality. And I think, it's not too late. The information is out there. Let us go, let us join forces. Look, CARICOM is working on their 10-point plan. I know that 10-point plan are wrong for a really long time, but now if we all talk together, stakeholders in this, the ones who are being affected by this, we can come up with some good results. So again, it's not working in silos, but working together. Together we are stronger. Together we can make it happen. So yeah, this is what I look forward to before we roll into another cycle of another 10-year decade. we need to see some serious requests going out there, some serious data, some serious findings as to what our people needs are. You know, define your needs, let's put it in proposals form and get the resources that is required to fix those problems.
So how is that part going though? Because I know that's a major consideration, the resources.
I never see money as a problem. I never see money as a problem. You put the vision out, you put your dream out. Don't let nothing stop you from putting your dream out. And then it will come. It will bear fruit. So never put money in front of your goals. You define your goals, put a cost into that, and then we go out there to get it. I often say, as long as there's money making machine, they will print enough for us. Don't worry. Just get it. Get it out there, brothers. Just let's get it out there. So if we call for, say for example, we've called for £5 million for the Caribbean. Jamaica come out with a proposal, Belize, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Martinique, Guadeloupe, you know, we can get that. If you say you want a birthing center, you want to develop Jacko Flats and other maroon trails in Jamaica, in Dominica, you want to put up, you know, you don't talk cultural heritage, train young people, get them ready. You know, it's about working the money into some projects that can bring back resources to you. You know, looking at sustainable development from that point of view. You know, you set a birthing center, wellness center, agro-processing plant. You talk about food security and sovereignty, you know, but you don't just talk it, you have to do it, you have to live it. Talk about land rights. We need land to plant food, right? So we get money to pump into these projects, then in next 3 to 5 years, we can show the turnover and show the results. So we will not always be going out there begging, but we can find creative ways how to sustain ourselves and our families.
No, but as you mentioned, land, you know, but it is declared in the United Nations Declaration for the Rights of Indigenous People that they should have access to land.
Yes,
so I just read recently, I just read upon a term, allodial state. And I'm saying, but this is referring to indigenous people and their land, and that they have the right to this land. So our indigenous people really trying that, are using that as a strategy to gain back some of these lands?
Well, some do, and some are just waiting for someone to do it for them. I think this is a time you don't have to wait on someone to do for you. This is not a time for you to wait. As a people, you got to make the first move. And the United Maroon Indigenous Peoples presented a declaration to the UN. And we will continue to work that declaration where we declare an end to racial discrimination and injustice against our African Indigenous Maroon peoples globally in all form and manifestation. In Article 2, we state, we declare that African Indigenous Maroon peoples globally be compensated through reparation, financially, socially, and otherwise for the crimes committed against our ancestors. We declare that our African Indigenous Maroon communities, both children and adults, be taught an African language. We declare the right of Indigenous Maroon community to self-determination and respect. We declare the rights to land, to farm, for farming, and to practice our rituals the way our ancestors used to. And we go on to 20 items on this declaration. You know, and this one where we say we can take this declaration, we can take this document and say, this is the declaration declared on the 28th of April, 2022. and signed on by all who were present there. And we have used it back to the, when we go to the UN. And again, if I am going out there in Geneva this year, I will again state this declaration, right? And all the articles, so they will see that this is where we stand, and we want to have rights to our land. We want to have rights to languages. We want to have rights to be able to return to Africa. We want to have rights to practice our traditions the way our ancestors used to. Yeah, so.
Yes, but I was reading in that declaration for indigenous people in Article 23 and 24. Well, 24 states that you still have the right to your medicinal practices.
Yes.
And the way of health. And in Article 23, it was really talking about your right to educate in your languages and use your language and your other practices. So, and that's, it's a declaration from the UN.
Yes, so Article 23 from the UN state indigenous peoples have the right to determine and develop priorities and strategies for exercising their right to develop. In particular, indigenous peoples have the right to be actively involved in developing and determining health, housing, and other economic and social programs affecting them, and as far as possible to administer such programs through their own institutions. So it's for us to take this declaration before our heads of state, before our government, if we feel that our rights are being violated. Again, in Article 24, indigenous peoples have the right to their traditional medicines and to maintain their health practices, including the conservation of their vital medicinal plants, animals, and minerals. Indigenous individuals also have the right to access, without any discrimination, to all social and health services. So again, if we feel that our rights are being violated, we can build a case. We need lawyers to come on board. We need politicians or whoever to come on board and listen to us, right? Because as a people, we don't have to really side in politics and so on. We have our rights, but we need to be heard. We need support. We need legal support as well when we feel our rights are being violated.
Yes, as you mentioned, lawyers, then do you know any lawyers that are involved, with indigenous people and indigenous affairs that we could get on the program to talk about some of these things?
Oh yes, there's one who sits on the UN, on the committee of the UN Permanent Forum for People of African Descent, Justin Hashford, and I think, he's in the US, but that's one that we should try to, he's a professor at Howard University, and I think he is a very, very good person, Justice Hansford, Hansford, and he is a professor at Howard University. We should try to find him and get him on this program, because he is deeply involved with all these reparation, committees and conversation around racism and all the stuff like that. And then we also have our own lawyers there in Jamaica. We have Malene. She was with us at the UN. Malene Allen. And then we have Marcus. I met him at Charlestown, and he was also with us in St. Vincent at the a gathering with Caribbean Development Bank, looking at indigenous peoples and their rights. So we have Justin, I remember his surname, not Justin, we had Marcus from Jamaica. And we also have one lawyer here in Trinidad, Caroline Maya Toby. She also was with us at different meetings, and she met with the special rapporteur in Jamaica as well. So we have a few lawyers on board who we can bring on this program. Hope they're willing to sit in and talk about ways in which, we can, get the defense that we need when our rights are being violated as a people.
So do you know if like indigenous people are engaged in their different governments along these lines or to talk about these policies?
For us in Trinidad, we have been engaging our government, and for example, land rights in South Trinidad, when people were encroaching on our lands and so on. I wrote to the Prime Minister and Planning Minister and Agriculture Minister, and they responded favorably to look into our matter and stuff like that. So, so that is one. And even looking at the different UN bodies, developing a relationship with them. For example, the UN Population Fund, UNFPA, who funded our first event in Dominica, our ancestral gathering in Dominica. They are there and always willing to listen. Dr. Natalia Kanem, she is the executive director of UNFPA, who is always there to stand and in defense of the indigenous peoples and the families and women and girls, and so we have been getting the attention of some of these key players and even our government, but it's for indigenous peoples to feel comfortable to approach their government and not feel like, they not be fearful of them, but comfortable to reach out. And I think this is where the lawyers and them could even help, create a dialogue and spaces where government can meet the people on the ground with respect. With respect, yeah.
Yes, just a long journey.
Yeah, one that must be, must be continued.
Yes, yes. And I thank you for this program too, because I know 2 years ago, I know, you all have been calling. We have Sister Cynthia, our Garifuna sister.
Yeah.
We have, our sisters in Dominica. One problem for me is Guadeloupe, Martinique, and Haiti, the little language barriers, but we do have people who are waiting to be heard, those who feel like marginalized. They need to be heard. They need to be heard, right? There may be some language barriers in between, but we can find ways to cross those hurdles.
Oh, yes.
But there are a lot of situations need to be addressed, right, in the Caribbean here.
We
Also
love to speak
CARICOM.
to the Dominican people, because we haven't done that yet. So if you could make some arrangements for us.
Okay, we have one lawyer, Tiani B. Hansen. He was with us. And yeah, we can get on to Tiani and the son of Rosie Douglas. And
Okay.
we can
Remember
get on to
her.
Tiani for him to, share his views on this topic and how ready and willing they are to stand in defense of our people.
Yes, wonderful. Wonderful. I think you had given us some link to some people in Carriacou.
Oh yes, the
But
Temne people.
we were never able to engage them.
Okay,
you
so we
find
will
them?
try. We'll try again, and
Okay.
maybe you can invite Brother Amadou Masali. He's from Sierra Leone, and he's the one who connects the people, the indigenous peoples of Carriacou, the Temne people, because they are direct descendants of Sierra Leone. So
Okay.
I can get the connection for you
Please
and let
do.
you reach out to Amadou Masali, Brother
Yes.
Amadou Masali, and he can be on the program along with,
Yes,
some others
definitely.
there. He's
Definitely.
also deeply linked with the Gulaguchis and the Seminoles that are our relatives,
But
and
basically,
yeah.
basically we are scheduled for an indigenous outlook every Tuesday. So every week we can have one every week.
Okay.
So
Yes, I think
we
this
have
is
that
what we
slot
need.
prepared for indigenous outlook, one per
Yes,
week.
yes,
So we just
yes.
need
So,
to fill
and
those slots now.
yes, definitely, because we are planning a gathering closing off the end of the decade, and we call it the rebirth,
Excuse me a minute. Right.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is to host a gathering where we can bring our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, and the Americas together in Trinidad, might be in November, and look at the same thing we are talking about. Let them come and identify their needs, put it in proposal form, put a big proposal together, and take it out there to someone who is waiting for it, to make sure that we can implement some of these actions. We're also looking forward to get more buy-in from CARICOM on this matter, because I know CARICOM played a big role at our last gathering for people of African descent in New York. So therefore, CARICOM, you should try to get CARICOM voice through your program for them to tell us where they are and how ready they are to defend this whole reparation and justice matter for our people.
Yeah, as you know, it's very difficult to get people in the political sphere to come on this program, because most times some of them are really partisan in their politics, and so it's really difficult to, more or less we would have to look to try and get the people who are technocrats, who are involved in, these organizations and all of that.
I know Brother David Kamisiong in Barbados is doing excellent work.
Yes,
And
I
these are
know.
people, yeah.
Yeah, we had him on the program once, we've been trying to get him, but looks like he's very busy.
Yeah, but they are representing us out there. So you can't be representing us out there, and when we come home, everybody get back in a vacuum. We need to keep the conversation going. So after we return from Geneva, let's have a Caribbean talk. Let's see what's going on. Let's keep the talk alive. Let's keep the conversation alive. It's not just pack a suitcase and you go out there and you're at an event, and then when you come back, everything just died down. No, that's not proactive enough. We need to be consistent with our delivery. We need to put systems in place where we can talk together and make sure that we can reach the marginalized groups and, identify their needs. And this is not being done.
No, in my mind, this is what I think, that most people don't see it as an intellectual pursuit or something to build on their profile, or, because it makes some of these people, look big, and, and most of them too, because of their knowledge, they become arrogant and egoistic. So,
Yeah.
it's not much about getting things done,
Yeah,
but, being seen in this light as this person having this kind of knowledge, and, that people look up to. And we forget past all of that.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Because it is not looking good. if we had 10 years to celebrate the people of African descent, 10 years, right? And we lobby for another 10 to come, right? One asks, will it make any difference? I said, yes, it will, because we will make sure that something happens, right? Then they say, what about the 10 years that you all have been working as the United Maroon Indigenous Peoples? And I can trace back and chronologically look at what we have been doing from 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, where we have been 2018, 2019, 2021. We have been back and to and fro to the UN. We have been part of that Decade for People of African Descent, permanent forum for people of African descent. And we equip ourselves with the information. We got special rapporteur there to see. So on the UN side, that's kind of okay. But now it's for the governments of the region. Now it's for the NGO and civil societies within the Caribbean to come together. Now it's for the reparation committees to have consultation and public awareness forums that we can talk and strategize and come up with real tangible solutions where you can see it. It's not just a good proposal on a shelf, or somebody did a book, or somebody did a thesis. No, it's beyond that. It's about healing from the trauma. It's about restoring what was taken away from us. It is about reclaiming, that power and joy and glory that we once had. So, yeah. We need to do it.
Sure, well, we have spoken a whole lot about, all these indigenous things and about our people of African descent. But what do you think are some of the strategies, going forward?
Strategies in going forward, like I just outlined, we need to talk. We cannot act in silos. We need to talk. If there's a reparation committee in Jamaica, they need to address the population, the African community. Let us hear what you all are thinking. If there's a reparation committee in Trinidad, let us hear what you all are thinking. Meet the NGOs, the civil society, the indigenous groups who are doing the work on the ground. Meet the indigenous peoples and individuals who are doing the work on the ground. Create a platform so they can be heard. So that's one. Two, we don't wait for an event to speak out. We don't wait for an event to dress up like an African. You live it every day. And in whatever you do, you try to create it in your landscape. For example, here at Fonsuman, we just don't plant trees. We just don't care for the river. We just don't fight fires. We talk about roots and culture. There's a cultural component. There's a cultural module here at Fonsuman. When you come, you can get a drum beat. You can go to a shrine. You can pray. You can go to the river. You can taste honey. You can get blessings. You can see the footprints of Mama Africa around, right? So, like in some days to come, we will be hosting a Caribbean event, but yet a local event. It's called the GAIAP. And GAIAP is lend hand. GAIAP is working together for a positive cause. And we have Caribbean countries that will be part of this GAIAP through the NICA project, Natural Infrastructure for Caribbean Resilience. And that is in March, coming, right? And we have Jamaica taking part, Belize, Grenada, Dominica, foresters from different parts of the Caribbean will be coming in and being part of our GAIAP event. And this is where we will even talk the conversation of who are you? How can we ensure that land security and sovereignty continue to take place? How can we be custodians of our natural environment as a people? How can we create food security for our people? We're talking climate crisis here. How can we look out for each other? What are the plans we have for indigenous people and all peoples, So in whatever area of work that you're involved in, We ask for the teachers as well. Please equip yourself with the tool, the right information, so you can teach the children whenever the opportunity arises. Thanks.
Yeah, and in one of your talks, you really mentioned something that I think is very interesting, and nothing is really being done in that area. Public awareness.
Mhm.
How can you, how can we garner, more public awareness about
Okay.
all of these things that we are talking about?
Okay, so we get the radio stations to support the, we get the musicians, we get the news reporter, we get, in all different ways where you don't have to pay, because first thing they say you have to pay for ad and we don't have money for ad. We
Yeah.
get sponsorship from our community, our Black community, and non-Black community as well. Let them know this is very, very important. It's a trickle effect. It's a domino effect. When one side is in balance, the whole community is in balance. So we want to bring balance. We want to bring equity and equality within our system, within our communities, within our countries. So again, moving forward, if we get the artists, when you're singing, sing something about this conversation so it can be heard on the radio, in the call-in programs. Let people, directly get themselves to speak out and to build awareness through the call-in programs and so on. But the media is a powerful tool. And if we work it well, our voices and our stories will be heard. So.
Yeah, and that's very important because there's so much misinformation out there, and people are getting their information from the wrong sources, and if we can get, our information from the artist's mouth, so to speak, then, that's the way to move forward. Yeah, because
Yes, definitely.
you see, like, all right, there's some kind of stigma, like in Jamaica, about Maroons, that, according to the history books that are being there, who have read about how the Maroons betrayed other Maroons or other African leaders who were there. It was the Maroons who captured Paul Boga. Yeah, but people don't know some of the stories behind some of these things. Yeah, it may actually happen, but they were not told that runaway slaves also betrayed Maroons who were hiding in safe places. So, you only hear one side of the story. But
That
you see
is
the other
why
side,
that is why we have to be
never known.
writing our own stories now. We have to.
Yeah. Because
Yeah, so-
even when the British started to deploy Africans or recruit Africans in the army, that was a part of a sellout. That was a part of to confuse free Blacks, to confuse Maroons, because I've read even in Dominica, when they saw Africans in military wear, they thought they were friends, right? They thought they were friends. And some of the Africans who joined the Maroons in the hills and stayed, when they were captured, man, they were treated the worst. Their heads were cut off, their bodies were hung in the square, and that was the military guys who went against the slave master and the British, So again, so that's why, we have Blacks who have betrayed us, and we still kind of dealing with those traumas, but at the same time, we have to heal. We have to heal and move on. A lot of look like after the end of the war of 1812, 1814, when they sent my ancestors to do garrison duties in Bermuda, they offered them to fight again. They say no. They offered them to form a brigade of their own. They say no. They offered them again to fight. They said no. And with that angered the British. but then they already had to keep up with their agreement, because now you're talking about well-built, robust soldiers here with guns and access to
Well-trained
guns.
people. Yeah.
Well-trained people, and they were not taking no for an answer. We fought on your side, and the agreement was after the war you would set us free. So this is what we stood our ground, and we make sure that they send us to, a destination. And strange enough, they didn't even choose to send us back to Africa. They could have sent us back to Africa. No, they sent us in the Caribbean, they sent us in Trinidad to populate the country and so on, and but here we are today, strong to tell the story, and now we are linking with our brothers and sisters in Florida, and we are form a movement, and the Underground Railroad to Freedom, and our relatives who are the Gulaguchis and the Seminoles and some of the Creek Indians and all of them, we are coming together and revitalizing this whole mission, bringing the story alive.
That is wonderful. Yeah, that is wonderful.
Yeah. Because it is not in the education system. You wouldn't find it in the history books. So when you talk about the Negro Fort along the Apalachicola River in Tallahassee, look out, we are going to develop that site into a site that will be telling the story that they kept from us. Yeah.
Well, we definitely will want to be a part of that. Definitely.
Yeah. For sure. We have some brothers and sisters who will be willing and ready to come on your program.
Well, make the arrangements, yeah, definitely. Yeah, as soon as you can, yes.
Yeah.
Because you see, the word must get out, we must get the word out. That is the name of the game now. People don't have enough information. Everything is still hidden for the most part. So who has the information has to put it out there so everybody else can at least hear it one time, at least,
Yeah. And Caribbean countries, the leaders need to see how even in the U.S., in Florida, the U.S. government is assisting, in helping with resources to make this happen.
Wonderful.
To develop that site and so on. So it's not about, come on, you're doing something wrong as a government to help these people find themselves and find their path. When we find our path, when we get to our level of independence and we can feel comfortable with ourselves, we will make society a better place as well.
Yes.
Our youths will not be walking with their heads down and their pants down. They will be walking around with a sense of purpose, a sense of pride, a sense of being, a sense of belonging, So this is what we want to see and hear. This is what we want to live. This is, if we don't do this now, we'll be failing the next generation. Looking for hope. So the time is now, and I congratulate you all for this program, and definitely there are others who are waiting to come on board to contribute to this.
Well, we thank you very much, and it is your program. You are making it what it is, and we really appreciate that. Love that.
Welcome, Modupe. Welcome.
Yes, we thank you very much, Akilah.
Most welcome. Blessings to everyone and to our listeners. And just for us to notice, we all can make a difference. We all can do our part.
Definitely.
This is not my responsibility. This is your responsibility and others to come.
Oh, yes.
So again, we welcome each and every one to contribute to this movement, of finding self and the glory of being. Ashe.
And knowing the truth, knowing what is, and that is critical.
Yeah.
Because we have been told so many lies,
Exactly.
So many lies, yeah.
Sometimes you read the history book and you reach 1821, and then I see them jump from 1821 to 1839. I would say, but wait now, where all the rest of information gone? It's placed.
The word stop.
It's the action that will shame them, that they took out from there. The crimes that they have committed, the brutal crimes that they have committed against us, and show where we revolt. Those are the era, the years that make them shame, so they didn't put it in there. So But all in all, we are here. And it's all about survivance, where we can tell our stories. We
Oh,
can
yes.
unearth the truth and yeah, we can't give up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so Flavius, let's close us out and let us go.
Yep. Thank you very much, Akilah. Very, very, very. I mean, I listen keenly, to your presentation, and it's magnificent, and this information that the general public needs to have, which they don't have. So, we are glad that we can be part of this whole thing, getting information out there to everybody. So we really appreciate it, and we appreciate even more your continued support and continued sharing of your information with us and our listeners and viewers. Thank you very much, Akilah. But we will have you back pretty soon. I'm quite sure of that. Pretty soon.
Okay.
And we look forward to the links that you will be providing for us. Just speak with Courtney and everything should be all right.
Okay.
So, until next time, say bye for now from the Stuff Podcast. Thank you very much.
You lead us to full. You belong far away away. Ajuguala lebo buseru. Lida mua, lida sungfula. Lida mua, lida sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know that me have to go flee. Me have to take away me say. Me have to take away me say. Me have to hide like a thief in the night. Me have to get out of sight. Me have to take away myself. I have to take away myself. I have to utilize I will.